Hello friends, we are filming today on Memorial Day, Monday 2023, and I want to give a shout out to all of the vets out there. Thank you so much for your sacrifice and your service. I also want to give a special shout out to my family members who served in the military as well, which include my father, brother, several uncles, several cousins. Thank you all for your service. As we went through Memorial Day, it got me to thinking about the holiday time sharing schedule. So we're going to talk about holiday time sharing schedule. Welcome back to the Divorce Broadcast. My name is Manny Segarra, coming to you from Miami, Florida. Alright, so we did an entire video on Parenting Plan 101 where we went over generally the entire parenting plan. Today we are going to focus in specifically on holidays, and we're going to also talk a little bit about spring break, summer break, and winter break as it relates to time sharing with the kiddos. Before we even get into all that, we need to make sure that everyone's parenting plan has a couple things set straight. Number one, when it comes to either the break periods or the holidays, you need to realize that these time periods usually trump or are priority over the regular time sharing schedule. So if a parent has a holiday, let's say it's their birthday, and it falls on the other parent's time sharing, the holiday or the birthday will trump the regular time sharing schedule. In addition to that, you need to make it very clear which parent gets what particular day. It is a huge fight all the time in family court when the parents can't decide what day it is, so we need to spell it out in writing who gets a particular day and what the time period is. Is it going to be the entire weekend, for example, if it's a Monday holiday, or is it going to be just the particular days? And also, just as important, where are the exchanges going to occur? Is it going to be at the summer camp? Is it going to be at a parent's house? Will it be at the airport? So these are things that we need to think about and communicate with the other parent. And speaking of airports, if travel with the children is abroad, we need to make sure that there are very clear provisions about the passports. All right, so the first group of holidays that we're going to discuss today are the Monday holidays. You know, as you were a kid, you loved those long weekends. That's right, we're talking about pretty much President's Day, Martin Luther King Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Indigenous People Day, which used to be celebrated as Columbus Day and is still celebrated that way in many parts of the country. The Monday holidays attach to a weekend, so usually whatever parent has the preceding weekend will also have that Monday. Some parents do it a little bit different. Some parents carve out the actual Monday holiday, but for the most part it attaches. All right, let's talk about some of the floating holidays, what I like to call the floaters. These are specific holidays that have a particular date in which they're celebrated, but the specific day may rotate. First one that comes to mind is Independence Day, the 4th of July, with all the fireworks and stuff. That day is always the 4th of July, obviously, and it's usually, I like to tie it to whichever parent has that part of the summer time sharing schedule. If you can't figure it out that way, then you simply would probably rotate the 4th of July. The next one that comes to mind is Veterans Day. Veterans Day is always November 11th. It's a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, and it's kind of good to have whichever parent has Thanksgiving may not necessarily have Veterans Day, so I don't get all the holidays right next to each other. The next one that I can think of, which brings back a lot of fond memories for me, is Halloween. Don't we love the little kiddos, especially the babies, when they're wearing their awesome little Halloween costumes? They are so cute, so adorable. That is a date that is particular every year, except when they get bigger and they become teenagers and they start dressing like scary monsters and stuff. Maybe you don't want them for that, but you have to account for Halloween, especially when they're little. Sometimes parents like to split that holiday. And then there's Juneteenth. That is a holiday that was recently added. It's in June, right after school lets out, so you have to contemplate Juneteenth as well now. In addition to the floaters, there are distinct holidays depending upon the locale, and I will talk to you about 3 in particular that I know about, but feel free to fill in the gap from whatever part of the country you are. As all of you know, I'm from Chicago, and they celebrate Kazimierz Pulaski Day. I had no idea Kazimierz Pulaski, who he was when I was growing up in Chicago, but I appreciated the fact that he used to get me a day off of school. Now I realize that he was a pretty famous general during the Revolutionary War. In addition to that, we have here in Miami-Dade County Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. That is a very new holiday in which Miami-Dade County likes to honor law enforcement. And then in Puerto Rico, they celebrate Las Octavitas, which is a date that is about 8 days after the Epiphany, kind of continue the Christmas party spirit. So those are examples of local days that you may want to think about when you're contemplating a parenting plan. All right, so now we're going to get to a little bit of a touchy subject, which is the child's birthday. I know that both parents usually want to spend time with each of the children on their birthday, so it is a source of disagreement and conflict oftentimes. So we must make sure that the parenting plans account for this time sharing during the children's birthday. My 2 cents is that both parents should try to share and have a little bit of time with the children. What would be really amazing is if they could throw a birthday party together. Always remember, if there's more than one child, all of the children will travel together during one of the children's birthdays, so keep that in mind. Next is the birthdays that are unique to the particular parents, and that would be for moms, obviously Mother's Day and their particular birthday, and for dads it would be Father's Day and their particular birthday. The only time that this sometimes becomes an issue is if someone's birthday falls on a different holiday. So let's say that mom's birthday is on Veterans Day. Well, every year it looks like mom will probably get Veterans Day. So keep that in mind. Whenever you're doing a parenting plan, try to focus in on what the actual birthdays are, the dates, so that you can make sure there's no conflict with any other holidays or spring break, winter break, or summer break. Up next is one of my favorite holidays, Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving because I love the food that you eat on Thanksgiving. It used to be Wednesdays to the end of the weekend, but many jurisdictions now, including Miami-Dade County, will give the children an entire week off. So the parents have to figure out how they're going to do that. Are they going to split the week? Are they going to rotate the weekend completely? Are they going to follow the regular schedule, but on Thanksgiving, split the day? Maybe one parent has dinner at earlier, like 2-3 o'clock p.m., and then the other parent will have dinner a little bit later that night. So Thanksgiving is a big holiday. See how you can figure that one out. Let's talk a little bit now about the breaks. Let's talk about spring break first. It's usually a week. Parents have to decide if they're just going to take the entire week and rotate it each year, or if they're going to split the spring break in half. Let's talk about summer break, which is the biggest chunk. Now that we've hit Memorial Day, summer break is coming up. How are the parties going to do it? Are they going to split the summer equally? Are they going to keep the same time sharing schedule? If they decide to split the summer equally, what are they going to do? Are they going to do 1 week on, 1 week off? Usually it's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Sometimes one parent will get the first half, the other parent will then get the second half. And when you're thinking about how to split up summer break, you got to think about vacation, whether or not you have to provide an itinerary, how much notice, if it's out of the country or out of the state, how you're going to either have a passport or let the other parent know where you're staying. Up next is winter break. Usually winter break is 2 weeks and it's divided in half. That's usually how it works, and there's usually a carve out time for any religious holidays that fall within the winter break. When you're contemplating the time sharing schedule or the parenting plan, is there going to be any travel restrictions? Because if you carve out some time in the beginning, then you got to do kind of the same thing on the second half. So you have to really think about how winter break is going to be divided. All right, so now I want to get into some of the religious holidays, and I want to apologize in advance if when I go over some of these holidays, if I mispronounce the names. I mean no offense to anyone. For the Christians and the Catholics, obviously there's Easter and Good Friday that have to be considered. The Christmas holidays, which includes Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. For some of the Christians, the Epiphany is a big holiday, and then obviously depending upon culturally where you're at, some of those are really important, like Noche Buena, which we just talked about, Christmas Eve. For our Jewish friends, remember that they follow the Hebrew calendar. There are several holy days, including Purim, Passover, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Hanukkah. Muslim holidays include Al-Hijra, Ramadan, as well as Eid al-Adha. For our Indian friends, there is Diwali, the Festival of Light, and Holi. In addition to that, our pagan friends, they celebrate Halloween, winter and summer solstice, as well as other festivals. And for those of you who are Jerry Seinfeld fans, don't forget about Festivus for the Rest of Us, which is a made-up holiday that they decided to do on that show for the rest of us. So now that we have listed some of the holidays that may be celebrated by families who are in different faiths, we need to make sure that we account for these, because some of these holidays are celebrated on more than one particular day. So it's important, for instance, if a family celebrates Hanukkah on one side and Christmas on the other side, we need to figure out which parent is going to have time sharing on that particular day. So it's important to sit down and think that out when you sign the parenting plan so that we can avoid conflicts in the future. So as you can see, in closing, this all can get a little bit complicated. I suggest you invest in a calendar or some sort of application to keep all of this straight. A little bit of a practice tip: remember, be flexible. It's all about the kiddos. It's all about exposing them to the traditions and important dates that are important to your particular family. you have to think about what are the traditions that you want to pass on to the children and make sure that they benefit from that. All right, so that's a wrap on the holiday timesharing schedule discussion. If you know anyone that needs some guidance on figuring out a holiday timesharing schedule, have them look us up at www.segarralawfirm.com. We have offices in Miami and Orlando, Florida. Se habla español. Do us a favor and like this video and subscribe to the Divorce Broadcast. And once again, happy Memorial Day and thank you to all of the vets for your service and sacrifice to this country.